Hello and welcome back to the box office, guys. Now, before we get going, I just wanted to say that I have attached our social media usernames and handles to the description box to this video. Our website is also live, boxofficeboxing.com. Now, we have an amazing matchup this weekend, one that I'm very excited about. I feel like we've been getting spoiled by boxing lately. We've gotten to see Errol Spence, Tyson Fury. We're going to get to see Valdez and then Canelo Alvarez as well. This week's video is about Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson. An exciting matchup, one that I'm very interested in seeing how it pans out, as it's going to show a little bit of maturation in Shakur Stevenson and seeing what he can handle as far as that aggression that we're expecting Valdez to bring. So, let's take a look at both fighters. On one end, we have Oscar Valdez, the plus 340 Vegas underdog, meaning you bet $100, and if Oscar Valdez manages to pull off the upset, you'll win $340 for that one bet. He's going to be entering the ring at 30-0. Yes, 30-0. 23 of those wins are coming by the way of knockout. He is standing at 5'5.5". His reach is 66 inches, and his last three bouts have been against Robson Conceição, Miguel Berchelt, Jason Velez, and honorable mention Adam Lopez. The reason I bring up the Adam Lopez fight is because he was actually dropped by Adam Lopez. He got up, hurt Lopez, and stopped him in the 7th round. A lot of people said it was a quick stoppage, but it was a stoppage nonetheless. That fight against Robson Conceição also said it was a lot closer than what the judges had it. Moving on, Shakur Stevenson. He's a minus 550 Vegas favorite, meaning you have to bet $550, and if he manages to pull off the upset, you get $100 in return. Not a smart investment. He's going to be entering the ring at 17-0 with 9 knockouts. He is 5'7" with a 68-inch reach, and he is a southpaw. Right off the bat, you can see that he's going to be taller than Valdez, and he's going to have a reach advantage as well. Add in the factor of being a southpaw, he's labeled as a generational talent. All that stacks up in favor of Shakur Stevenson. His last 3 fights have been against Jamel Herring, where he won by TKO, won his first title. Jeremiah Nakathila, which that win looks more and more impressive as Nakathila is facing other opposition. And Tokakan Clary, he won that by unanimous decision as well. Now, before I keep going into our betting guide, on my website, boxofficeboxing.com, I did write an article about the trainers of both fighters for next week's big matchup. Go ahead and give it a look so that we can start giving you guys out more articles and more news as we move forward. Moving to the betting guide. This betting guide wasn't as extensive as other weeks, but we have Oscar Valdez at a plus 340 money line, meaning you bet $100. Whichever way, shape, or form he happens to win, knockout, decision, disqualification, you get $340 in return. If he were to win by knockout, that's sitting at a plus 500. You bet 100, you get 500 in return. If you think he's going to win by decision, the decision money line is sitting at a plus 1,000. 1,000. And it's really high. Almost, the odds makers are basically saying it's unlikely to happen. And you can kind of see it happening just because of the clash of styles that we're going to get. They don't see that type of fight rolling out. Now for Shakur Stevenson, he's sitting at a minus 550 money line, meaning he wins whichever way, shape, or form. You have to bet $550 to get $100 in return. Shakur Stevenson by decision is sitting at a minus 135, meaning you bet $135, and if he wins by decision, you get $100 in return. Shakur Stevenson by KO, that is sitting at a plus 260 right now. meaning you bet $100, and if he wins by KO, you get $260 in return. That's the only Shakur Stevenson, other than round betting and sectional betting, that's sitting at a plus money, meaning you bet $1 and you get more than $1 in return. Do you believe this fight is going to go the distance? If you believe it is, that's sitting at a minus 168. The odds makers do believe that this fight will go the distance, most likely in favor of Shakur Stevenson. Do you believe it's not going to go the distance? That's sitting at that's sitting at a plus 132, that the fight will end before the final bell. Do you believe this fight's going to be a draw? That's sitting at a plus $2,400, $2,400 for every $100 that you bet. Now, you can see how unlikely some of these scenarios are, but if the fight were to be a draw, I do see it happening something like the Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 1 matchup, where Tyson Fury won more rounds, but Deontay Wilder knocked down Tyson Fury throughout the fight and was able to win 2-point rounds throughout the fight, ultimately leading to a draw. Now, let's take a look at the keys of victory for both fighters. Let's take a look at the Vegas underdog, Oscar Valdez, sitting at a plus 340. So, first things first for Oscar Valdez. You're going to want to be aggressive, but it's more than just being aggressive. We've seen it time and time again. When a fighter is aggressive, they're walking in a straight line and they get the opponent up against the ropes, but they don't do much. They throw punches, but they whiff at a lot of these punches that are being thrown. So, it's called effective aggressiveness. This is going to be a perfect time for Eddie Reynoso in your corner to add a little wrinkle to your game. It's more than just getting your head off the line when you're coming in and cutting the distance. Maybe throwing a jab, something along the lines as Cotto versus Mayweather, or something about how Marcos Maidana evolved into a come forward fighter, throwing that jab to set the rest of his punches up. Something along those lines where you can be aggressive effectively, but you add a wrinkle to your game, something that's going to catch Shakur Stevenson off guard. Now, I will say this. You're going to have to throw in multiple wrinkles because Shakur Stevenson is the type of fighter that can adjust to anything and everything that you throw at him. So be careful with the wrinkles that you're throwing at him, because he will adjust eventually and catch on to any tactics that you are choosing to use. Number 2, go to the body. And this is specifically important if we do expect this fight to roll out as you, Valdez, being the aggressor and Shakur being the boxer, trying to stay away. If this does happen, you're going to want to start digging to the body early in the fight. You want to tire out those legs so that punches that weren't missing in the first round can start grazing him in the middle rounds and start landing towards the end of the fight. You're going to gradually see a decrease in energy, a decrease in footwork, and a decrease in offensive output on his end, and it's going to be where you want to take advantage. So go to the body, invest in the body early and often. And 3, this is something I would have liked to see Dillian Whyte do more against Tyson Fury, and that's going to be rough him up. If you can get him up against the ropes and he starts clinching, hit with that offhand. Hit on top of the head, on side of the head. Hold, shoot to the body. Do whatever you can do to rough him up. Knock him off of his game. Make him foggy. Make his head foggy. Make it cloudy. Don't let him know what you're going to do next. Rough him up and then reset. Effective aggressiveness. Go to the body. If he clinches, back to it again. Rough him up. You do these 2 things, you're going to certainly make an interesting fight. I don't know if you'll win the fight, but you're going to put yourself in a good position to potentially pull off an upset. Remember, you start digging to the body early and often, you rough them up and you land one punch, you can potentially put yourself in a position to be to stop him or knock him down multiple times so that you can get that decision victory. Now moving on to Shakur Stevenson, the Vegas favorite. Well, first things first, speed kills. So, straight punches. A jab and a cross is going to get there faster than a hook or overhand right. So, use your speed. Use that to your advantage. 1s and 2s, right down the pipe. If he's throwing an overhand right, 1-2, right down the pipe. If he's lunging in with the hook, 1-2, right down the pipe. Those punches are going to get there faster than what Valdez's punches are going to do, especially if they're looping. And you'll be able to stop a lot of his momentum coming forward. So when you start landing the ones and twos, and he wants to keep coming forward, step 2 is going to be counter. You're a brilliant defensive fighter. You're a fighter that can accommodate to almost any type of pressure, whether it's shoulder roll, you're going to be catching and shooting. Whichever method you choose to counter, start countering and start countering often. The more you counter, I guarantee you, the more you start countering, the more and more likely it is for him to stand in front of you and get handcuffed and not shoot because he's worried about something coming and being shot back. So counter. That's one way to stop his aggressiveness. And number 3 is going to be at some point during the fight, if you're not countering or if he's still coming forward despite the counter, you're going to want to draw that line in the sand and you're going to want to fight in the middle of the ring. Counter, timing, ones and twos right down the pipe. I believe that this can happen in the second half of the fight and eventually you can even walk him down where you're the one dictating the pace. You're the one coming in with the ones and twos. And then eventually you can even feint and can come over with hooks and straight rights. Or in your case, straight lefts. So you do these 3 things. Throw those straight punches because speed kills. You counter because that negates a lot of aggressiveness. And then you draw that line and you start walking them down, especially after you've given them some punishment throughout the fight. I think you're going to put yourself in a good position to win this bout. Now, as far as my prediction goes, my prediction is that Shakur Stevenson is going to win this bout. He's going to showcase his talent and he's going to show us why he's regarded as that generational talent. But I do see one of 2 things happening. One of 2 things is going to happen. It's going to be a fight like, let's say, give you an example, and I hate using the Mayweather comparison, but it's going to be a fight like either Mayweather-Castillo, where Castillo's coming in forward the whole time and he's landing his punches and it's rough and tough. He ultimately edges out a close decision. Some people think he won, some people think he lost. Or it's going to be a fight like Gotti versus Mayweather, where he's just going to come in here and dominate the guy that's sitting in front of him, the guy that thinks he's going to come in and just start digging to the body and making him a rough and tough fight. It's going to be one of those 2 scenarios. I'm leaning towards the Gotti. If I was a betting man, I would go for that Shakur Stevenson by knockout just because I've seen Valdez hit the canvas against a lesser tier opponent in Adam Lopez. But that's enough of what I think. What do you guys think? How do you think this fight's going to unfold? How do you guys think this fight's going to play out? What are your predictions for this bout? Let me know in the comments. Remember, boxofficeboxing.com. I do have a couple articles. One of them regarding this bout. One of them regarding next week's bout, and I have some cover stories from previous weeks beforehand. So go ahead, click subscribe to the email newsletter, and then as well social media links. I want to hear your opinion. Let's talk boxing, guys. I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care.